I don't know a lot about most things, but I do know this 1966 Fender Mustang, which has been with me since high school, and I consider it to be a piece of my soul. I feel I can speak with some authority as to whether or not this type of guitar is right for you. I'm Eric Haugen. Check the description box below for tabs and backing tracks on my website, information about exactly all the sound tools I'm using today, live streams and more on Patreon, and my deep dive courses. It's all on my website. Mustang pickups are Strat pickups with flat pole pieces, then placed under plastic covers. This is a short scale guitar, as in 24 inches from where the strings start to where they end. Typical Fender is 25.5. So typical Fender is going to have kind of more snap and sustain than the short scale Fender. So I put 11s on this guitar to kind of split that difference. It's still going to be different than my Strat, but let's see how different. I'm going to pull up some Sloan Junior Panthers because Jay Ferguson, he plays a Mustang from time to time. Now, because this is a dual single coil guitar, we can put both pickups on and do some jangly stuff. Let's A/B this one with my Telecaster because that's a little more similar. Strats, or at least my Strat, isn't wired up in such a way that I can put the bridge position pickup and the neck position pickup on and have them be in phase. Here's some Mac DeMarco. I don't know if this is true for all Mustangs, but on this particular Mustang, the bridge pickup, which was wound by Tom Brantley, is particularly nasty. Like, it can give a Tele a run for its money. So let's find out by shooting it out with a Telecaster playing some Blur. One of the things particular to Mustangs are the pickup selector / phase switches. Check it out. Here's how they work. Middle position, off. Either direction is on, so that's bridge, off, on. Same for neck. No difference in sound. Now, here's the interesting thing. If they are both in the same direction, they're in phase. But if they are in opposing directions, they're out of phase. Funky. That's fun. But yeah, it doesn't matter if they're that way or if they're the other way. That's out of phase. So let's compare that quacky sound to the quacky sound of a Fender Strat, bridge position pickup, middle position pickup on. Again, let's pull up some talking heads because David Byrne would play a duo sonic, which is kind of like a Mustang. Mustang is an offset waist guitar, which means that, this, they call it the waist. You can see this indentation is over here on that side and there on that side. So it's not, perfectly in the middle. That's really helpful for sitting down and playing. Standing up, you don't notice it as much, but sure, it's a little more comfortable. Speaking of comfortable or uncomfortable, the pickup switches do bother a lot of people when you first pick up a Mustang. Yeah, you absolutely end up hitting these when you play. Again, I've had this guitar for forever, so I'm used to scratching up against those when I play. Being that this Mustang is so old, there's no body contours on it. It's just a slab. There's no, little forearm contour or tummy cut. Those came around in 1969. So yeah, the 65, 66, 65 through 68 Mustangs are just a slab. The stock bridge was fine and I used it for decades, but I recently put a mastery on this. I feel stupid for not doing it sooner. Here's what it fixed. The stock bridge, this is a 7.25 radius guitar, so that's a lot of curvature on the fretboard, and the stock bridge was supposed to match that, but there's no adjustment for the radius on the stock bridge, so it really, as things changed over time to get your high E and low E in the right spot, the kind of middle wasn't really where you wanted it, and the string spacing was just like a millimeter too crowded. Popped in the mastery, set it all up. It kind of just evened everything out and made the guitar a lot more playable. Tuning stability, maybe a little bit better. It's still, I always say this, a Mustang is not a Telecaster. They're just not. But man, if you have a guitar that maybe could hold a mastery, they're expensive, but they really are good. You can see I have one on my Telecaster, and now I have one on this. I'm like, yeah, it definitely made this guitar, I don't know, 30% better, just much more even, much more jangly, a lot more comfortable to play. All right, let's talk about the cigar bar tremolo system here. I really don't like it. I have not found a way to get this thing to return to pitch properly. So in fact, let's see. I'm going to tune the guitar up perfectly, and then I'm going to play some Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, because Blixa played a Mustang. And let's see, I'm just going to do the slightest shimmy, and let's see how close this thing returns to pitch. So that's not too far off, but it doesn't leave me with a lot of confidence in using the trem on the Mustang. So most of the time, I just don't. These necks are comfortable, but they are small. In fact, they're similar in taper to a Rickenbacker neck. So as in the taper is in, this is 1 5/8 over here. At the 7th fret, we're about 1 7/8. At the 12th, we're just a little bit past 2. That combined with the short scale and that 7.25 radius, that curvature does mean that the guitar tends to get kind of crowded as you work your way up to top. Some people like that. Some people like the small neck because you can kind of get your hand around. The only thing that the smallness really does affect is any sort of strange kind of chord where you really are trying to reach for things that might be an awkward position. You might run into problems on this, although I'm feeling pretty comfortable on it ever since I put the mastery. I do think the newer Mustangs are obviously a little more forgiving because they have a flatter radius and maybe just a little bit wider string spacing. Here's the story of the Haugens Custom Shop finish on this guitar. My older brother Dave actually bought this guitar off of another dude in bands back in high school. The guitar was spray painted black when he got it. He went off to college and was like, you know what, I'm not really playing the Mustang very much. You can do whatever you want with it. So I stripped it, stained it with Minwax red mahogany, and painted on oil-based polyurethane. I didn't really love the way it came out, so I actually started to sand it again. And then I stopped for a second and was like, it's perfect now. So yeah, that's yeah. It was inspired by Elvis Costello's Jazz Master, but yeah, you can see the swirls, and yeah, it is a high quality professional job I did there. I hope this video gave you some solid food for thought about the pros and cons of this funky little guitar. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and share. That costs you nothing, and it helps me out a lot when you do that. One more time, though, how my business works. Patreon is where there's every backing track I've ever made, live Q&A seminars, and more, and I make courses. You could check it all out on my website. As Bill and Ted would say, be excellent to each other. That includes yourself. Happy Friday. Eat pizza.